Hello, this is Watch All About with another watch review, and in this review we're looking at a UK-based brand, one that has been around for quite a while, but that has recently been rediscovered and relaunched. So this is the Fears Watch Co, and this is the Redcliffe. So Fears in itself was actually created in 1846 by a chap called Edwin Fears in Bristol in the UK. And they kept on going until around the 1950s, 1960s, when unfortunately trade had to end. So now, here Edwin Fear's great grandson, Nicholas Bowman Scargill, started it again in 2016, relaunched it at Salon QP last year. I was there. So here it is, a new release from an old brand, if you will. So quite a nice familial heritage behind the watch. So that's really nice to see that, that it hasn't been bought out by some random company, but it stayed within the family. So let's have a look, see what kind of watch you get for your money. So the Fears Redcliffe comes in at £650. Key points to keep in mind are that it is completely Swiss made. It is a quartz as well, but we'll go through the in-depth details in a moment. You also get a 5 years warranty, which is good. So size-wise, we're at 38mm in diameter. So I've got around a 7¼ inch wrist. So there it is. 38mm in diameter, a nice thin height of 8mm. Obviously, because it's quartz, it can be that thin. And a lug-to-lug length of 45mm, so quite short, dumpy lugs as well. I found the size to be really nice, really wearable. Because of the thin height, it slips under a cuff really easily. But also the 38mm diameter is I find to be quite a nice sweet spot around that kind of area. So not too overtly large, but not too small, so it gets lost. 36mm tends to be a bit too small, so 38mm I find to be very nice. So easy to wear because of that. In addition to this, we do have a really light weight of 39 grams. So just shy of 40 grams. It is an incredibly lightweight watch. Now, unfortunately, that does sort of make it feel a little bit on the cheaper side of things because of the lightweight. But, the finishing and the quality of the case doesn't quite match up with the lightweightness of the watch. So I think it's just because it's so small, has a quartz movement in it as well. It does give this impression. So 39 grams, very light. You can wear it all day on your wrist quite easily because of the weight. Water resistance 50 meters, so nothing exciting to report there. Just make sure you don't go deep sea diving in it. The movement then, it's Ronda 515 quartz, as you can see ticking around. I've seen the Ronda 515 a couple of times in Scurfers, in Etiquette watches as well, but I know a lot of other companies use them. So just a solid, dependable Swiss quartz movement. They're not particularly expensive. I think they're around £8 a unit. So they're not crazy expensive, but you get what you expect. A really well made, solid, dependable movement that is accurate out of the box and has a decent battery life of around 4 years. So there we go. 5 years warranty, as I mentioned before, so that's a really good thing, especially from a new watch brand. You know that they are in it for the long haul. It's not a year down the road they're just going to scarper. So 5 years warranty, you very rarely see that. In fact, Christopher Ward, as far as I am aware, are the only other watch brand offering that much, that length of time. So that's a really good plus. So we have a 20mm wide lug width, which is a nice size in comparison to the case. Good ratio there, and that tapers down quite a lot to around 16mm at the buckle. So quite a thin buckle, as you can see there. A lot of taperage. So we'll discuss each element in detail now. Starting off with the dial then, you'll notice, especially if you go on the website as well, this sort of shape here used on the hour markers is sort of like part of their branding guidelines. You see it quite a lot, and I really like the way that it's used so well throughout the watch and throughout the website, throughout the branding. So as a I work in design, so I really appreciate that. Obviously the hour markers are using that shape, the hour hands themselves, and also this surround to the date window. Can you see it in the back? No, it's not on the back. But great use of that shape. Obviously that has heritage behind it as well. So I really like the design of the watch. I think it's very striking. You know, a little bit unusual about it as well. It's not it's simple, but not really plain. It has, you know, a little bit of interest about it, mainly thanks to that sort of branding behind it. I also like the font used on the logo, and I really like the electronic oscillator down there with the little lightning bolt. So that's a very, you know, vintage inspired kind of thing to say when quartz were new. All very excited. So that's a nice little touch. All the printing, there's nothing applied. It's all printed. The hands in these hour markers have loom as well within them. So the loom reasonably strong, charges averagely, and it fades at an average rate as well. So nothing striking or too amazing about the loom, but it performs as you'd expect it to. You know, there's, apart from that, not a whole lot more to comment on the watch, because it's all printed. We'll have a look into the macro lens soon, but all the printing is good. You can't really knock it. Personally, I love seeing applied elements. You know, it gives us a little sense of worth to the watch. So I would have liked to have seen some applied elements perhaps, but obviously there isn't. Moving on to the case then. Quite a small, thin, light and delicate affair. Obviously, because it is so delicate and small, that's the main reason why it's a mere 39 grams in weight. But the finishing is all very nice. As you can see, it's fully polished, and you know, the finishing is mirror-like, very, very good. A couple of things I would have wanted to have seen improved is the crown. Whilst it's easy to use and you know, nice, it's push-pull crown, so it's nice and easy to pull out and good grip. The FWC, for Fear's Watch Company, it's laser etched. If I can get a decent shot on it. Obviously I'll show you with macro lens in a bit. So that would have been really nice if it was engraved. It would have signified, you know, higher quality. Same for the case back as well. Whilst the case back looks really nice, it's got a cool like pattern to it. Again, quite vintage inspired, I think. Again, it's only laser engraved, so that's a bit of a disappointment to me. It would have been nicer if it was engraved. It would have shown a higher quality of finish. Also, the case back is just a push-in case back rather than a screw-in case back. Now, I appreciate that the thin profile of the case might mean that it may not be able to get a fully screw-in case back. I'm not entirely sure. I'm not a watchmaker. But it would have been nice, and it would have signified slightly higher quality in construction as well. We have a sapphire crystal, good anti-reflective coating to it as well, actually. I'm in a conservatory and you can see we do have reflections, that's natural, but they are dulled quite a lot. It does feel a little bit on the thin side when you tap it, so, you know, it has the, not necessarily potential, it's obviously scratch proof, but again, it's just something that could have been maybe a little bit thicker to bring the impression of higher quality. Moving on to the strap. The strap is goat's leather. Now, I haven't had much experience with goat's leather at all, but I really, really like it. It has a very interesting grain to it, as you can see. A very cool blue colour as well, which I really like. And it's really supple, very, very comfortable, obviously extremely high quality. So I very, very much like the strap, so that's a nice positive. It comes in a variety of colours as well, and I think you can even talk to Fears directly and get pretty much any colour under the sun if you really wanted to. So that's a nice touch. There's the stamp, the logo on the underside. A nice little addition, which I always like to see, is the quick release pins. So that's an added bonus, which you know, I think every single watch out there should include these. So that's a great little plus. The buckle, again, pretty standard Tang buckle, but you know, it's just laser etched. This FWC Limited. Would have been nice if it was properly engraved. would have signified, you know, decent quality. So there we go. Let's get the macro lens on then and have a look at it in closer detail. So starting with the dial, you can just move the, so there's the print work. The dial has a very nice sort of gloss finish to it, so it has quite a sheen, which is a nice touch. There's the date window just cut out of the dial, so like something like this might have been quite nice to have some sort of applied element around it. There's our hour markers. They've got loom within them. Swiss made at the bottom there. That's our printing in the bottom half. And then our hands. It's our hour hand. Sort of like a like a glossy finish to it. So there we go. Moving on to the case then. It's always a nightmare getting decent macro shots of a highly polished case, so I'll just give it a quick wipe down. So let's look at this side first with the logo etched onto the crown. So the crown itself, you know, good size, good shape, good grip. It's just I would have liked to see that FWC engraved rather than laser etched. Here's the side profile, nice shapely lugs as well. So there we go. Moving on to the case back. Again, just laser etched, so proper engraving would have been preferable for me. Okay, moving on to the strap then. Here's that unusual top grain, which is a nice pattern to it. I much prefer a grain like this to a fake alligator grain. And then on the underside we have the Fears logo stamped with a quick release pin just there. And then just moving on to the buckle. There we have FWC Limited, again etched on the tang buckle. Okay. So, the Fears Redcliffe, £650. There's no doubt about it. It has a wonderful heritage to it, so that is definitely worth something. Many watch manufacturers nowadays, you know, would love to have a heritage like Fears have. So that's a great thing to know and to appreciate about the watch brand as well, and to know that it's been restarted by a family member. So they certainly deserve a lot of recognition and kudos for that. Moving on to the watch itself for £650. Personally, unfortunately, I think it's probably a little bit too high in terms of asking price. I'm a kind of person who loves to get as much watch for his money. And when you compare it to other Swiss-made brands, you can get an automatic for the same price with like a, not necessarily higher build quality, but the impression of a higher quality watch, you know, with better engraving on the case, for instance. You know, unfortunately the crown having laser etching and the buckle and the case back sort of signifies that, you know, there could be improvements there, which I would have liked to have seen on a watch costing £650. You know, when you compare it to Christopher Ward, Steinhardt, even the new Brathwaite Swiss made automatic as well. They're all automatics and they're all cheaper. So it's just when you compare it to the other available watches in the price range, you know, there is quite a battle in my mind whether I would go for the Fears. No doubt about it, it's cool in design. I really like the way it looks, and you know, it is made well. It's well put together. It's just that impression could be a little bit better. So obviously, if you deem it fit to be worth £650, then you will be getting a very nice looking watch, which is well put together as well. So this was the Fears Redcliffe, and that's what it's all about.